Tech News Weekly is sponsored by Hover.com. Domain names made simple. Go to gfq.hover.com and get 10% off your entire purchase. And by Stitcher Radio. Listen on the go via the Stitcher mobile app. For more information, go to stitcher.com/GFQ.
Starting Tech News Weekly in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome everybody to Tech News Weekly. I'm your host, Andrew Zarian, as I am each and every week. It would be funny if I wasn't Andrew Zarian this week. And it is a two-man show today. Sunkast is here with us. And before we do get into any news, I do want to wish Sunkast a happy birthday. Sunkast, happy birthday, man.
Thanks.
Your big birthday today.
Yeah.
Having a big party, I heard.
Yeah, I'm going to start having my midlife crisis soon.
He's approaching middle age and is not very happy with this. Listen,
I'm going to pull a Coco and start getting all depressed and everything.
Yeah, so it's your 30th birthday.
Yes.
Coco on his 30th birthday, for people who don't remember. Let me see if I could. Why isn't this working? Okay, there we go.
Why isn't this working?
For Coco's 30th birthday, he got very depressed. I mean, just very, very depressed. And we ended up taking him out, and nothing we did helped him. So, but you seem to be doing a lot better than he did. You're upbeat. We had a meeting earlier. We have some things coming up soon with.
Dude, I'm so loaded right now. That's the only reason why.
You know, if it was anybody else, I would believe you. But a lot. You know what? You might be in a good mood, and this is what I attribute this to. It might be due to the BlackBerry news that came out early this week, and. Is it just me, or was this a very surprise announcement? I mean, I don't think anybody expected it.
I don't think it was really a surprise. I mean, we knew that they were having BlackBerry World this week, so of course we knew that we were expecting at least I was expecting, or I was hoping for, were for them to actually announce BlackBerry 10 Plus devices and when it would be rolled out. Sadly, none of that really
happened. Yeah.
But they did announce BlackBerry 10, the new QNX-based operating system, and I guess the successor to BlackBerry 7 and Playbook OS 2.0.
And they had a little video they put. You know what? I'm going to tell you, and we'll talk about what we think of the device. But I do want to play this video beforehand and
there's no devices. It's just the operating system.
The operating system.
All they showed off.
Yeah, there's no device yet. So here is their demo of their operating system and what a device could potentially be like. I mean, it's nice looking.
I'm not necessarily crazy about this video, but it does show off part of it. It'll be really interesting because, you know, the way they do commercials these days is like everything looks cool.
Yeah.
Until you actually have it, you don't really know how well it works.
They
don't even know how well it's going to work because they don't even have a device that it runs on yet.
They did say that their keyboard, they're putting a lot of emphasis on the keyboard and the touch keyboard, and they are saying that it is a industry leader. I don't know what that necessarily means, but they did state that this.
How can it be an industry leader when it's not even released yet?
It will be, and they know how important a hard keyboard is for their customer base. You know, that's how BlackBerry's really became prominent in the smartphone market. But they're putting a lot of emphasis in that. They showed a couple of things. There's a developer device that they displayed. I'm not, what do you think of it? I want your honest opinion because you are a BlackBerry user. You did cover BlackBerry for a long time. Is this something that will potentially survive in the market that is saturated by Android, with iOS, with Windows Phone, and now possibly BlackBerry 10?
It has potential, but much like anything else that they're doing, it's going to be one of those things where until they actually release and launch these devices with BlackBerry 10 on them, and people start buying them, we really won't know how successful this is going to be. Because if you look back in, I think it was like 2009, when they launched their first touchscreen device, the BlackBerry Storm. Everybody was so excited about it, and then people started buying it. It was the worst thing ever, and it basically doomed them.
Yeah, I mean, they have fallen behind. A lot of people say, they're
Well, this
they're
is something
doomed.
that I still feel that if they had released this maybe 2 years ago, that would have been a great time.
Yeah. Well, yes, 2 years ago if it came out, it would have been good timing. But
It would have been very exciting if this operating system came out 2 years ago.
But 2 years ago was a
it's
different thing.
It's very lackluster because their whole keynote that they had, and you can't really compare it to an Apple keynote because they're just two completely different companies. But it just does not. It didn't have that same excitement. It didn't have really any excitement whatsoever, and it really felt disappointing. Everything they did was just like ho hum. It just didn't really gel with me. I watched portions of it, and it's just, really? This is it?
Well, one thing that is very interesting is that camera feature that they're offering now. And I guess this is their way of saying, hey, look, we're not just an enterprise device.
What they ended up doing
it.
with that is they licensed technology from a company called Scalata, which does that. And that they kind of changed the interface for that and integrated it nicely into BlackBerry 10. And I think that is one of the more exciting features. They only really had a few big features shown off, which was the virtual keyboard, where for the predictive text, what it does is it pops up the word right next to the letter that you're trying to type. So you just flick it up with the gesture, which is really, really, really cool. We'll see how well that actually works when it's released. They also did the camera thing, which I think is really cool and something that even Apple and Android don't really have
So
yet,
let's explain what the camera is. What it does before you start shooting. So before you hit, let's say take the picture, the button to take the picture, it starts grabbing a few frames before you do that. So
and
let's
a few frames
say,
after
and
it
a few
as well.
frames after. So let's say
It does this all automatically for you, by the way.
So you don't have to set anything. So you say, okay, smile, everyone. You take the picture, and you realize, Aunt Lisa was a little cockeyed in the picture. You could go back a frame or two or forward a frame or two to find that sweet spot. I think that's a great feature, and I think everybody's
That's really cool because you don't actually have to take another photo to get a decent photo that you like.
Yeah,
it's
but
not. All right, well, I didn't like that one, so I'm gonna say I want to change this one and take another photo. It does it automatically. You just like forward or backward.
But how much of a difference does that make? How much of a difference does it make if the camera is not great?
I think it makes a huge difference.
I still think that the cameras have to. The iPhone dominates this market.
We won't know because there's no BlackBerry 10 device announced.
What do you think is holding them back with the announcement of the device? Do you think it's a resource issue? Do you think it's a hardware problem that they're?
I think it's their standards with hardware and what they want to do with that hardware. The hardware that they want to use doesn't live up to their standards, is what it is.
What do you mean by that?
They've been talking for a long time about they want to do LTE, but those LTE chipsets out there don't really give us the battery life that we want and we expect from BlackBerry devices.
Oh, so that's what they're saying. It's coming down to LTE.
For the most part, yes.
But LTE is confirmed on the playbook currently, right? The next playbook will have LTE.
Yeah, they did announce it, which is like, whoopee. I mean, who's buying a playbook?
Yeah.
Who wants a playbook?
Yeah.
As far as this camera app goes, this back in time thing that they're calling, I think this is really cool of them to actually do something like that, and it's one of the more exciting features of BlackBerry 10 because you don't see that built in, integrated with either the iPhone, iOS, or Android. Now imagine this: if something like that was announced for the iPhone 5 or one of the previous iPhones, people would be so excited about that. This would be like one of the coolest features you'd hear about right now. Everybody in every blog would be talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very innovative feature. It's something that you do not see with any other camera manufacturer, phone manufacturer. And you're right, if it was iPhone doing this, not even Android, but let's say Apple, this would be one of the biggest feature add-ons that the next generation device could have. But because it's BlackBerry and because they have been so slow at adapting and implementing features that the user wants currently, I don't think nobody knew. I'll be honest, there were so many blogs.
Virtual keyboard. If Apple had implemented that virtual keyboard, every single Apple fanboy would be praising Apple over this revolutionary new keyboard. But because it's RIM doing this, it's just like, Really? That's supposed to be cool?
I find
they're
it
getting all this
interesting.
negative press about it.
I find it fascinating that RIM was praised for many, many years, and ever since that huge issue they had last year, that the outage, it's been it for them. I mean, they're not getting any kind of positive press at this point, and I don't think that's necessarily fair. I think
they're getting some, but it's just not to the level that you see with Apple. I mean, if Apple had done this keynote and actually talked about these features, it would be such a hyped up thing. It would be like every other Apple keynote where everybody's excited about every single feature, and it's just the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Well, since we're on that topic with phones, Samsung Galaxy S3 was official. It was unveiled a couple days ago, and a very interesting thing, they weren't confirming the name. So that led many people to believe it will have a different name. Turns out, nope, same name. It's going to be called the Galaxy S3. Some of the features, it's a new 1.4 gigahertz quad core processor in this thing, so it's going to do a lot of work.
It's one of the first new quad core processor phones. The only other one I believe is the HTC One X. I think that's the only other quad core phone out there.
Yeah, it's a big display. It's a 4.8-inch display, AMOLED screen, 1820 by 720 resolution. It has an 8-megapixel rear camera and a 1.9 megapixel front-facing camera. HSPA Plus. It's also going to have LTE version. It's running TouchWiz on top of Android 4, which I don't like. I don't like any of these add-ons. It's coming to the States in June. A very good-looking phone, very interesting phone. Here are some images, actually, of the phone.
So let me ask you, and I do have somewhat of a problem. I think it's a great-looking phone. I think the hardware and the specs and everything are really nice-looking. My problem is that this is the third generation of the Galaxy S, and it's what they've been doing with this. It's every single year since 2010, they've released a new generation of this phone.
Yeah.
Is that too many too quickly? Every single year they're releasing a successor to their Galaxy S line.
I don't think so.
In June of 2013, you're going to have the Galaxy S4. Is that too quickly to release these devices?
I would say yes, but this is the first time it's coming to Verizon in the States. It has never been on Verizon before, so this is really the first time that many CDMA users will have exposure to the Galaxy S line, except for the Nexus, that we have. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what they did because the flagship was the Galaxy Nexus.
It seems like every 12 months is very quickly to release a successor to a smartphone model.
Well, listen, that's been the problem with Android. I mean, that's what we constantly scream about. That it's not only that there's a new phone coming out every month or so.
Right, I just bought the latest and greatest, and 12 months later, they released the successor to it, and it's already out of date.
But let me ask you this. Weren't they...
I just plopped down $400 on the best smartphone out there, and 12 months later, it's old tech.
But they had stated that they're going to slow down the release cycle of the flagship phones and make it, every 14 months.
I think that would be great.
That would be great.
I think it should be at most every 18 months.
What is the iPhone? iPhone is every year at this point.
Pretty much, yes.
Yeah, I mean, that's how they're doing. I mean, they'll do a refreshed 1 year, and then it'll be a major
I think
rebranding the
Apple
following.
is pretty much the exception to a lot of things out there.
Well, the iPhone is the
Apple
exception
is a company
to
that
everything.
I think can really get away with doing something like that every single year because they just have such a cult following.
Someone in our chat room said, and this is very true, it said, it's just like watching the commercial for that new product that they release right after you buy the old one. and that's almost like what it is. I mean, there's a flagship Android phone coming out from every manufacturer every couple months. You don't know what's better than the other one. In reality, they're all about the same. And my biggest problem with this is that they're putting their own crap on top of it. TouchWiz is what Samsung is calling it. LG has whatever they call theirs. HTC has the Sense UI. They're putting their own crap on top of it, and they're selling it, and people think that's the Android experience, when in reality, there's only one phone every year that comes out, and that is the official Google phone. I would rather get the official Google phone than to get one of these. I don't know.
Yeah, and this
to
is
me,
the other thing, like Megazip is saying in the chat room, is that as a developer, because there are just so many devices, it lends itself to being really bad for app developers and users of applications, simply because you can't support every single device out there. It's changing so fast, and there's so many different platforms out there that you just can't support all of them.
Yeah. I mean, but this is the Android phone. I mean, there's only a couple that come out that people really want, and I think this is one. The Nexus is another, and I believe it's currently, I think it's the HTC X or the HTC One, the One X. Those three are the flagships. Now,
but in 6 months, we'll have another batch of flagship phones.
Exactly, and that one,
and that's part of the problem, in my opinion. It's so confusing. It's like, what do you buy? I mean, every 6 months, there's going to be a greater and better phone out there.
By the way, I was saying that the display is big on this phone. It's a 4.65-inch display, almost 4.7 inch.
Yeah,
the display on this is 4.8. It's even bigger. Yeah. I mean, it's huge, and it seems like the size of the phone stays the same, but the screen size is going closer to the edge.
I'm honestly wondering how much of that is due to the fact that these chips that they're putting in there are larger than what they would want to do. Because to put a quad core in there plus LTE, that takes up a large amount of silicon just to do that. So you almost have to have, in my opinion, a bigger device just to be able to do those sort of things.
And the battery is pretty big too.
If you were just to do a dual core with LTE, you could probably do a much smaller device.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the battery. I believe the battery in this is an 1800 milliamp battery. This is a 2100 milliamp battery in this device. So,
and here's another problem: is Rich in the chat room is saying he wants a 1S. Wait, so now I'm confused. There's a 1S and a 1X.
Yeah. There's different ones for different carriers.
That's very confusing to me as a consumer.
No, I think they're all doing it wrong, in my opinion. I think it just release one standard one, have it across all platforms, sell the phone.
You don't see the iPhone. You don't see particular model changes between the names, at least between every single carrier for the iPhone. It's the iPhone.
Yeah, but can you imagine? I mean, but this has been going on for years, Sunkast. This is not something new. Phone manufacturers will take the same phone, release it on 4 different platforms, and they'll all have a different name, and one will have... I'll give you one example, and Verizon was notorious for doing this. Let's say a phone would come out for AT&T. The Touch Pro is a perfect one. The HTC Touch Pro was a fantastic device. It came out for AT&T, was on AT&T for about 8 months. Verizon got it, it took the RAM, the memory on this thing, cut it in half, and released it as their HTC Touch Pro. And the design was different. It's the same phone. Instead of having a round edge, it was a squared edge. And it baffled me on why they would do this, why they would take one phone that was very successful the way it was, ruin it,
and you know what?
And sell it as something else.
That's the fault of the carrier. I don't think that's the manufacturer making those calls. I think it's the carrier.
So this is a 5-inch display, okay?
Yeah.
This is a 4.65-inch display. This phone is in between these two.
Yeah.
I mean, it's obnoxious.
Those are big phones.
Yeah, they're huge. But maybe that is the trend. You know, we're calling it big because the iPhone is a big phone. I'm sorry, the iPhone is smaller when it compared to this. The iPhone, stories are coming out and screenshots are coming out of potentially what the next iPhone will be. The rumor is, and most probably it's true, it's going to be a 4-inch display, which I think is fine. I don't think that's too small. But because the market is getting saturated with so many large screen phones, we're talking 4.5, 4.3, 4.6, 4.8, 5-inch. When the iPhone 5 comes out, will it look small compared to the other ones? What do you think the market is going to perceive it when you have
right now?
its competition?
I think it does look small.
It looks tiny right now, and you know what? I have a very difficult time.
It's small compared to most of the smartphones out there right now.
Yeah, I have a very difficult time. I'll tell you, when I use Jessica's iPhone, I have a very difficult time typing on it because I'm so used to a larger screen. And when I bought this phone, I really did not think I would like the screen size of it because I thought it was a little too big. But I've gotten used to it, and I like it now. So when I go to use an iPhone, the iPhone is very small. What is it going to be perceived as when it's 4 inches compared to 4.65, which is becoming the standard?
Well, you
now for these
already
phones?
have a lot of Apple iPhone users out there screaming upset that they're going to possibly make this a bigger screen.
No, I mean, why
don't
would
want it. They like the 3.5 inch design. They don't want anything bigger. They think
has
it's
to be
perfect and
bigger.
that there shouldn't ever be any other screen size out there for the iPhone.
Listen, I understand that. I was one of the people that said it's a little too big. Anything over 4 inches is a little too big for a phone, but I've gotten used to the larger display, and I kind of prefer it over a smaller display at this point. I don't think I could go down to a 4.3-inch screen now. I like the 4.65, and you're not talking about too much, screen real estate when you're talking 0.3 versus 0.6, but my eyes almost have adjusted to this type of screen size compared to, a much smaller display. I didn't think people would prefer a larger screen like this, but they seem to be preferring it, and that's where the trend is going with the S3 being released as a 4.8-inch HD Super AMOLED screen. I'm very curious to see how this phone is. When it comes out, we will definitely have a hands-on review with it. I'm also releasing my review of the Galaxy Note this week. I know it's a little late, but I may have a little surprise on this phone to show you guys. With that said, I want to take a little break. I want to talk about our sponsor, Sunkast, which you know who it is. You know who our sponsor is, and that's hover.com. Domain names made simple. I am personally a Hover user. I'm a Hover customer. I know Sunkast has about 20 domains with Hover since they started advertising with us, and I know he buys a lot of domains. You buy it for all your clients.
1% of how many ever domains that you have.
I know. It technically, no, it's 10%. You buy it for your customers. I mean, that's how you do your purchases with Hover. You buy the domain with them. You register for the year for their website, and you constantly have to register it for them. But it makes it extremely easy for you to buy them because Hover is very efficient with their purchase, with their checkout system that they have. It'll say, hey, do you want to renew? You hit renew, done, you're finished. I mean, it's phenomenal how easy they are. You could get started at Hover if you go to gfq.hover.com, or you could use promo code GFQ upon checkout. You get 10% off your entire purchase. They also do email. Great service from them. We're actually doing a little side project, Sunkast and I, and we're registering our email through Hover because they make it extremely easy for you, and their interface is amazing. gfq.hover.com. You get 10% off your entire purchase. Thank you, Hover, for supporting Tech News Weekly. Do you want to pick a story, Sunkast? Do you want to go into something?
Not really.
Nothing?
No, I can go into some stuff.
Go into.
There was a quirky little story this week about a weird air experimental, I guess, protest in Australia, Sydney, Australia, to be more specific, where I forget what day it was, but a black bus with the words "Wake Up" written on it pulled in front of the Apple store in Sydney, and a whole bunch of people came out in black T-shirts that said "Wake Up" and signs that also said "Wake Up," and they started chanting "Wake Up" in front of this Apple store, and it was very weird because nobody knew who these people were,
what
why
they
were there, why they were even protesting, who they were protesting, and all that sort of thing. And it took about 3 or 4 days to actually figure out what was going on here.
What was going on?
I guess what was going on is that there was a lot of speculation as to who was behind this and why they were behind it.
And they found out eventually.
It does turn out that RIM was behind this all along, and that they're saying that they're going to have some big unveiling on May 7th, just a few days from now. Nobody knows what they're going to talk about in Sydney, but apparently it's some sort of campaign against Apple.
I mean, could it potentially be hardware? I mean, will they make...
No idea.
I mean,
absolutely no
idea. But they
idea.
just had an announcement.
Right, which is another thing that makes this so weird is that when this all happened, there was a guy there who just happened to be a blogger that just happened to do blogging for RIM in the past with some other events, and he caught everything on camera.
Very interesting. Very
so
fascinating.
that was very, like, Yeah, of course. If there's a blogger there that just happens to be there at the right time and actually releases a video about it and everything, it's just like, all right, of course this was planned. And it's just like, why would you do this? Why are they telling them to wake up? What does RIM have planned?
I guess they're looking at. I'm trying to perceive this in some intelligent way. They're trying to tell them like, "Hey, wake up! You're falling behind. Look at what we're doing." But why would that makes no? Why are you encouraging?
Yeah.
Apple?
They said that a reveal is going to take place on May 7th. That I guess aims to provoke conversation on what being in business means to Australians.
I love how they're screaming "wake up" and they don't even have a device.
I know.
Maybe it's like irony, right? Maybe it's
I think that's one of the things why we're all confused. It's like, who are these people? Why are they telling Apple to wake up? If it's RIM, why is RIM doing it? Because we've all been waiting for 3 years for them to wake up.
I think it's like a social experiment where like RIM is like
ironic.
It's irony, like it's like irony at its finest, where they're screaming to Apple wake up, and in reality, they're the ones that are sleeping.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's I find that hysterical that they did that. But yeah, but we saw something like this when Windows Phone came out. You know, they had the funeral for Apple. Maybe it's something like that. You know, and I'm not one of those people who listen to this show and they listen to What the Tech with Paul Thurrott, name drop. People know what I am like and how I perceive technology. I'm not a Apple person. I'm not a Microsoft person. I'm not an Android user. I'm not loyal to hardware. I use hardware for that moment. If it works for me, it works for me. Currently,
right.
I'm on a MacBook Pro. I run all my entire studio is based off of Windows machines. I have an Android phone. I feel in order for me to be fair and to evaluate and to discuss these things and take an opinion, I must be in the environment that I'm discussing. I'm in the iOS environment. I have an iPod Touch.
But we also have our personal opinions on
sure
what works best for us. And for you, what works best for you
now, I am
is a
not,
MacBook Pro.
Yeah, and with that said, I've never owned a BlackBerry. And it's shocking to many people when I tell them that.
I'll give you one.
I don't want one. I was almost a BlackBerry user, and they might have gotten me. And this is one of the problems that BlackBerry had at that point when they released that. What was their touch screen phone that they released?
The Storm.
I was online to buy this thing, and they did not have enough in the store, and there was a huge line for the store. It was a bad experience, and I didn't get it. I ended up getting, I forgot what I got at that point. I waited actually and got the Droid, but I would have been a BlackBerry user, and who knows what my opinion would have been of that, but I don't have anything against RIM. I hope their device is successful because the more competition there is in the market, the better it is for us, the end user, the consumer.
Right.
Because it's different competition technology. You know, I guarantee you, Sunkast, that camera technology that we see in BlackBerry will be implemented in iOS. It'll be implemented in Android.
License the same thing.
They can license the same thing, or you're going to have another company, a third-party app that implements it in their app. This is what competition does. But but BlackBerry has fallen apart. So I find it extremely funny that they're saying wake up to Apple when in reality they are the ones that are sleeping. Now I do want to go into the story.
I know it's so ironic that they're doing this wake up campaign and the fact that we've been waiting for them to wake up and that they are so far behind.
No, you're absolutely right.
Everybody else.
By the way, I was one of the people.
Even now, it's just like we're still waiting for those devices. Those BlackBerry 10 devices are still months away. We still have no confirmed launch date, no confirmed devices. We have absolutely no idea. All they say is the later part of 2012.
Now,
well, that could be October, November, December.
Now we've discussed Apple, we've discussed Google, we've discussed BlackBerry. I do want to move on to Windows now because this is a bizarre story to me, and many people will find this very strange. I would like to talk to Paul about this when with What the Tech happens next week, but there will apparently and allegedly, I'm not too sure if it's 100% confirmed. I know Microsoft stated something on their blog, but there will be no DVD playback support in Windows 8 Media Player. You will have to use Windows Media Center, which is not free anymore. You must purchase.
No, it's not even in Windows Media Center.
Oh, it's not even. What is it in exactly?
It's not in Windows at all.
It's not in Windows at all. No, what I'm saying, it's an application you must download. When you download and pay for Windows Media Center, it's in there.
You're referring to the fact that Microsoft is not including Windows Media Center in any version.
In any version, no.
You have to actually purchase an upgrade package to get Windows Media Center, which is separate from this whole notion of DVD player support not being included in any in Windows Media Player, period. Even if you get Windows Media Center, DVD playback support will not be in Windows Media Player.
I mean, do you perceive this as a sense that the operating system creators, Apple, Microsoft, they're leaning away from optical media? Because I know, you don't get it in the MacBook Airs, you don't get it in netbooks, you don't get it in some Ultrabooks. Is this their way of saying, hey, listen, optical media is dead, so we're not even going to support it and force you to go on past optical media?
Their whole reasoning behind this is that they don't want to spend the money to license the stuff to be able to support all the decoder information to support this in their operating system. That's what it comes down to, is they don't want to spend the money.
Yeah, I can't imagine that to be the real answer.
They don't want to spend the money on licenses just to have DVD playback support in Windows Media Player.
But I can't. I mean, do you believe that?
Very bizarre.
But do you believe that reasoning?
I believe that reasoning. Let me see if I can find the exact quote, because they said something really interesting.
I mean,
for optical disc playback on the new Windows 8 devices, we are going to rely on the many quality solutions on the market, which provide great experiences for both DVD and Blu-ray. But they don't mention any of these solutions out there. So what they're saying is that if you want DVD and Blu-ray support, you have to use a third-party solution.
So, I mean, you could download something like VLC, or you could download
you could,
whatever.
But does the average consumer know that they're going to have to do that? That they're going to have to do something in order to have DVD and Blu-ray support on their computer?
Okay, the answer is no, and I'll tell you why I say that. As a Mac user, I have a lot of relatives that bought Apple products, and they bought MacBooks, and they don't understand that they could play a WMV file. Like, they'll say to me, like, oh, hey, my computer can't play that format, or I can't play that type of file. And I tell them, I'm like, no, you could go and you could download VLC and you could play the file. So a lot of people don't understand that out of the box, it's not supported.
They don't know that you can go and download these other applications.
No, and I guarantee you, many people will not understand that they can't play a DVD. They're going to put in a DVD and look at it like it has 15 heads.
Because for the past few years, and any version of Windows that you get, Windows Vista, Windows 7, you're going to be able to do that out of the box.
And that's what's going to confuse people. People don't understand this thing where
I upgraded, but now I can't play DVDs on my computer anymore?
Exactly. I mean, that's what's going to really
I just got this brand new laptop. Why can't I play DVDs with it?
But maybe this is their way of saying, listen, we're not going to support optical. We don't want optical in here. We're going to a different format. Optical is dead, so we're not even going to support it. So it's almost like pretending it doesn't even exist. If you wanted, you got to download something else, but we're not going to support optical anymore. We're not going to support DVDs. And I understand it's a different argument. This is DVD media. I'm not talking about just DVD drives.
Yeah, maybe Paul Thurrott can shed a little bit more understanding behind why they're doing this, besides just the whole licensing thing. But it doesn't seem like a very good move to me.
Yeah, I mean, and Rich in the chat room, by the way, if you're listening on any number of our servers, we have a great chat room at jfqlive.tv, a bunch of people in there right now. Rich in our chat room is saying that what's going to happen to all those people that buy their, kids a laptop for back to school, and, they're not that tech savvy, and the kids might not be that tech savvy. I know majority of kids now are, but they're going to go and they're going to put in the DVD. And guess what? It's
not even that. It's even those moms that go and buy a cheap notebook or laptop so that they can have a portable DVD player for their kids.
Listen, you could download VLC or you could download Media Center.
I had that experience just the other week when I was in Nashville with my parents and my family, and my sister-in-law, who has kids, and they're over here at the moment, and they stuck a DVD into my mom's laptop to watch it with headphones on so that they could be entertained while we were doing something else.
Yeah. I mean, most people do that. I mean, that's a normal thing to do. It's a very normal thing to do. So I don't know.
It's almost like you expect it. You just assume it's going to be there. That's just how things work. It's DVD. It's been around for years. Why wouldn't it?
Yeah. I don't know.
People don't understand the fact that you have to license all this stuff. They don't understand any of that. They don't understand that this whole fight between video formats comes down to having to license these formats. They don't understand that whatsoever. They just expect things to work.
Yeah. I don't know. It's quite bizarre to me. I don't know how they're going to perceive it. Listen, it might be something that they turn around and say, no. It got spun out of control. We didn't mean it that way. So we'll find out with in coming days and weeks. This was an interesting story. I saw British ISPs must officially block the Pirate Bay. 5 of UK's largest internet service providers have been ordered to prevent their subscribers from accessing file-sharing websites like the Pirate Bay. This just came out, I believe. Sky, Everything Everywhere, Talk, O2, and Virgin Media are now legally supposed to block the Pirate Bay. I see this coming down the pipes to the States very, very soon. I think this is going to happen here now. England is doing it, UK is doing it currently, and this is now going to become something that comes over to our side. What do you think of this, Sunkast? I don't necessarily torrent a lot, but there have been times that I've been looking for something so obscure that I know I cannot get it anywhere else that I've had to torrent. And I'm not necessarily saying it's a movie that I'm pirating. It might have been an amateur documentary or
whether
something.
or not we should block websites that have a history of copyright infringement. If that's the case, we got to block Google. Why don't they block Google? They have links to torrents and everything out there. They're just as easy to use as the Pirate Bay is finding stuff.
But see, that's what Google has said, and Google takes responsibility in that. And they say, well,
So if you block the Pirate Bay for copyright infringement, you need to block Google because it's the same exact thing.
Yeah, see, this is where it gets really dangerous, and I don't necessarily agree with this. I don't think companies should be hemorrhaging money because of pirated software. I don't necessarily agree with that.
It's a very fine line.
It's a very fine line, and where do you pull it? Because technically, we just played a video here on the show, and we may or may not have broken copyright rules, and we may have infringed on BlackBerry's copyright on the video.
Well, they're going to probably say we did,
and they will say
it's pretty much fair use.
Absolutely. So this is what will happen with us. YouTube will flag us and say that we played copywritten content. Technically, and I'm amazed at the fact that they'll flag something like this, but people are putting full episodes of Monday Night Raw and they're putting full episodes of Grey's Anatomy on YouTube, and they're not getting flagged for months. But the second we put a fair use clip, and we're technically a news show, it's all fair use, they will pull it. I had an issue with...
Yeah, if this was Fox News and they were showing that same video...
They'd be perfectly fine.
That same demonstration...
Yeah.
They'd be perfectly fine with it.
Yeah, so this is where the problem lies. I actually would like to predict that we see this put in place by the end of the year in the States. I really
hope not.
I really think this is coming, and this is going to be...
That would
compromise.
Be very, very bad because they're going to have a big fight on their hand if they do that.
Well, no, this is going to be the compromise of Pippa and SOPA. This is where we're going to compromise, and we're going to say, okay, you know what? Don't come after us, and Google will back them, and Microsoft will back them. They'll say, don't come after us, but come after these torrent sites. They're the real bad guys, and they're going to start blocking them. That's what's going to happen.
There's no difference between them.
No, listen, it's the same thing. They're not harboring the files on their host. It's a link. So how do you say that
they don't even have links anymore on the Pirate Bay?
What is it? It's magnet. What do they call it?
Magnet links. It's a hash code.
Yeah, so they're not even doing that.
It's a hash code. That's all it is. It's not a file. Even if you don't know how to use, the problem is if you don't have a torrent application installed, you're not even going to know how to use this thing.
This is the problem with the war on piracy, where it's this imaginary war, and they're saying that it's hemorrhaging millions and millions of dollars, but there's no way to prove that you're losing revenue. It's the same as it's trying to prove that you're earning revenue from this. Some of the arguments are that, well, if it wasn't for sites that distributed your song, many people would not have been exposed to it. They would not have listened to your songs on a CD. They would not have bought your album on iTunes. They would not have gone to your concert. So how do you prove either side? You can't. It's a strange thing that, you know, they feel that they're hemorrhaging millions and millions of dollars. Here's an idea. Drop your prices for DVDs, Blu-rays. Drop your prices for songs. If you're a TV network, make your shows accessible to on-demand programming immediately. Make your shows accessible on Hulu and Netflix, and you're not going to have piracy. I can nearly guarantee you that the amount of people that were going to pirate a piece of software, or let's say movies, they were going to pirate a DVD, or they were going to pirate a song, are not doing it as much due to services like Rhapsody and due to services like iTunes and Hulu and Netflix. That I could guarantee you people are not doing it because it's a pain in the ass. Mm-hmm. It really is. It's a pain in the ass to go and try to find something. If you turn around and you say, you know what, listen, you could see the movies that you want. Just pay $9 a month and everything is accessible and it works on every platform. You're going to do it. Yeah. So why not make it accessible? I'll tell you something. I forgot what show was the other day.
The problem there is that in order to get that content, these companies that own that content want to charge a ridiculous amount of money for that access.
Why? You know, here's a perfect thing. Why aren't people pirating Revision 3 shows? Why aren't people pirating Twit Network shows? Why isn't that on torrent? Why isn't our show on torrent? Because it's accessible. You could go and you could watch it, and it's there. It's not this one-time thing and you're done and you can't watch it for God knows how long. I'll give you one example. The Discovery Channel is awful, and the History Channel is awful at putting stuff on demand or on their website. Let's say Ancient Aliens, right? I like that show. It's awful. It's ridiculous, but I watch it. It's something that I fall asleep to every night. It's been airing this entire season. It is not on demand. It is not on their website in its entirety. I can't find it unless I sit there and I make sure that I hit the DVR button or I watch it live.
Amazon sort of gets this. They recently released a update for the Kindle Fire, and one of the things that they changed in it is when they start a rental period for a movie that you rent from them. So before, when you rented a movie from them, as soon as you downloaded that movie, the 30-day rental period would kick in. Now, instead, with this update that they released, that rental period, that 30-day rental period, does not kick in until you actually start playing the movie. You can download it, but that rental period does not start until you actually watch the movie.
I think it's amazing. I really do. I'm blown away by the fact that we're still talking about this. I mean, and it's a news story. You know, this is something that people are discussing still, that, people are still pirating when we have services like Netflix and Hulu and every other, video streaming service.
It's these studios in Hollywood that want to put all these ridiculous restrictions and all these very expensive licenses together for these people that want to give you access to these shows.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to, in my opinion, is that if you take into the fact that Hulu now wants to just basically become Hulu Plus only for cable subscribers. If you have Time Warner, Comcast, whomever, you have to prove that you're an actual cable subscriber in order to get these shows the next day. Yeah. Otherwise, you're going to have to wait a 8-day period before you can even see these shows, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, that's a nail in the coffin for any cord cutter, really. And this is what their goal is.
I don't want to watch a show 8 days after it airs.
No, listen, cord cutting is not going to be something that we discuss because these cable services and the networks are all in cahoots. It's like the mob. It's worse than the mafia. You can't even pay them to get your service. You're kind of stuck into paying, for something that you don't need. And this is this is their way around it, and this is how they're teaming up. It's disgusting, really, how it's playing out to be. I do want to do one more story, and then we will move on to our picks of the week. I actually have a pick that I've been using a lot. The FBI, we need wiretaps ready for websites. Did you read this one, Sunkast? I found this interesting that they're saying this.
I read a little bit of
this. This is a CNET article. They learned that the FBI is quietly pushing the plan plans to force surveillance back doors on social networks, voice over IP services, web email providers.
Yeah, such as Microsoft, Facebook, Yahoo, and Google.
Everything. And they're asking internet companies not to oppose this law and making this backdoor mandatory. So pretty much if they have a reason, they will pretty much do wiretapping on your emails, your phone calls, everything you're doing on Facebook, your Twitter.
Yeah, what they say, the FBI, what it comes down is, the FBI says, oh, it's too hard for us to have wiretaps on people because they're not using telephones anymore. So, and they're using this internet to do all this stuff now. We want to be able to wiretap the internet. That's what we want to do. We want to make it easy for us to wiretap the internet.
Let me ask you this, okay?
Figure out what people are talking about to target criminals and whatnot.
But let me ask you this. Isn't it pretty easy, like let's say with Facebook, right? Let's say Facebook. Let's say webmail. I mean, I guess they're trying to do it legally by getting, an okay to do this. But this bill this proposal would amend the 1994 law called Communication Assistance for Law Enforcement Act, which is currently applied to telecommunication providers, but not web companies. This is a Big Brother state. I mean, what do you think of this? Do you think this is?
It does have that taste of Big Brother to it, doesn't it?
Yeah, I want my power of veto.
Yeah,
I want my coup d'état. I want my power of veto, and I could look already backdooring. That's being involved. You could backdoor someone. This is Big Brother. CBS is behind this. It's a TV show. The FBI is a contestant. You can find
all this information out on Facebook anyway.
Yeah.
What more do you want?
Yeah. So CNET spoke about this. Do you think this will pass?
I really don't. I mean, they're talking to these people. Generally, isn't it easy enough for them just to send a letter and subpoena these companies for the information?
Yeah, they can.
Is it really that difficult?
Well, they do subpoena these companies, and they do. I mean, they try to at least. Twitter could get a subpoena to release any kind of tweets out there. Law enforcement does that all the time with any kind of threat.
That's my exact point. And so why do they need to expand their powers of wiretapping to the internet?
Well, they're saying that it's urgency. It takes a while to get that subpoena, so they'd rather not be able to go through it, and they want to just go. They want to grab it immediately. Yeah, this is something.
That's very much like Big Brother.
Yeah. So that was another story. I don't want to dwell on it too much. There's more information coming out on it, but I do want to do our picks of the week and get out of here. Sunkast, do you want to go first?
I can go first.
Yeah, let's get this thing called a lower third ready. There we go.
Yeah. I don't know. Do you want to? I have a website for this. I don't know if you want to pull it up.
Yeah, I'll pull it up if you want to send me a link.
Yeah.
So the picks of the week, we do our two picks of the week, Sunkast, myself, and whoever the guest is this week is just us. But we pick a tech product, hardware, software, whatever the case may be, that we like for that week, and we highlight it on our show. You can find more picks of the week on our website, and you can subscribe to it on iTunes. If you look up picks of the week on iTunes, or you look up, I think Tech News Weekly on iTunes, it also comes up. So, Sunkast, what is your pick this week?
All right, so my pick this week is a website called mypermissions.org. It's spring, so we got to do a lot of spring cleaning here, right?
Yes,
One
sir.
of the ways you can do spring cleaning is to actually look at what applications you're giving permission to for your Facebook account, your Twitter account, your Google, Yahoo, LinkedIn, Dropbox, Instagram, etc. What's a good thing to do when you're doing spring cleaning is to actually check your app permissions for each of these services and make sure that you don't have any applications that doesn't need to have permissions to those accounts. And mypermissions.org is a great, easy way to check all of your services. They have convenient links to Facebook, Twitter, and Google right there for you. I can even actually bring this up on my camera for you and actually show you a quick demo. I'm going to go ahead and click the... Actually, I can't do it on that one because I have to sign in.
I actually just... they're sending me an email apparently now to confirm that I don't want these. I could do this, actually. Let me see. I'll click on Facebook.
Yeah, and it'll actually bring you to that website. You can either log in if you're not already logged in, and it'll actually show you which applications you have granted permission to access your Facebook or Google account.
Yeah.
And from there, you can decide whether or not you want to revoke those accesses and whatnot. It's very easy to do. They also offer a premium service.
Jeez, look at all these. Look at all this stuff I have. Do you see this?
Yeah.
The list is going on and on and on. I didn't even know.
You've granted access to all those applications.
No clue. No clue. Wow.
Yeah, and I don't know if you can see if it says, or you can let us do this for you, right underneath Start Cleaning.
Where does it say that on their website?
Right above the icons.
Okay, so let me. Yeah, so you could have them send an email, right?
Yeah, they can do it automatically for you for $4.99 a month. It'll give you alerts when apps access your private info. It can automatically scan your app's permission and automatically clean your app's permission for you in one click for just $5 a month.
Let me see my AOL because I haven't used AOL in a long time. No, I have nothing that asks for permission. Actually, that's interesting. So very interesting.
It's very convenient to go to this website to access all those places you might have permissions granted for applications, just to make sure that it's not something that you don't need it in there, because these applications can just, whenever they want, access your account and your information.
Yeah. Very
Spring
cool
is a great time to do that, and you can do this every month.
Yeah, very cool pick, Sunkast. I like that a lot.
That's mypermissions.org, by the way.
Mypermissions.org. My pick this week is something we use every week here at the network. Sunkast VNC's into our studio when I'm not here, and he was on vacation a couple weeks ago. And I panic. I'm like, what am I going to do? How am I going to, tap into the studio and Skype in and do all that stuff that he does without, having him around? So he told me to install a VNC client on my Mac, and I installed a bunch of them. I mean, I have a bunch of these VNCs, and I have Splashtop, and as far as the VNC goes, and I'm going to do another service in a couple of weeks, but as far as the VNC goes, the one that really worked well for me and the only one that worked well for me was Jollyfast VNC. I don't know if you guys could see my screen here, but Jollyfast VNC, it's a standard VNC client. You could buy it on their website, or you could buy it in the Mac App Store. I bought it on the Mac App Store. You could try it for free by downloading it. I believe you get a trial. It's extremely fast. It works extremely well, very stable. So let me show you guys how it works. So I'm going to VNC into the studio right now. So I have all these computers here. I have a bunch of them. So these are all the computers on my network. I find the one that I want to do. I hit connect. Oh, you know what? My IP changed.
Yes, it did.
Yes, it did.
That's the same problem I have.
So that's not going to work because my IP changed. But you pretty much get the point. You VNC in. The reason why I like this one opposed to the other ones, I had a major problem. And I don't know if it's because it's coming from Mac to Windows. I could not click on anything. So when I would click on something, there was a massive delay. And I had opened up the right ports and all of that. It just wouldn't work properly. Jollyfast VNC was the only one that really was almost real time. I mean, the latency was very, very little. And it worked really well. I know a lot of people ask how we control it, remotely from other computers. Jollyfast VNC for the Mac.
Great. Now I'm going to be fired because you have a replacement and you don't need me anymore.
I don't need you anymore. That's it.
I'm screwed.
Now let me ask you: with VNC, there's nothing that works seamless with the high visuals, right?
No.
I mean,
as I know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to find something, and I do want to implement GoToMeeting because I know GoToMeeting works, but I know a lot of these softwares don't do audio as well. This Jollyfast VNC does audio.
Yeah, that's something that you're starting to see more and more now is these remote applications that actually do audio as well.
Yeah, this does audio, and it's very necessary when, we're doing a remote show. Let's say Sunkast wants to control the show, and I don't want to do it. He can listen in, remotely through the VNC client on his desktop and be able to switch the camera. So that's why I really like this one.
The only issue that I've had with those, or at least, when I was trying it, Windows RDP does that. My problem is that even locally, I've had lag issues where it just didn't match up.
Yeah. I would like to try some of these other services, not the VNC ones, but the other ones to see how they do. But Jolly VNC, that's my pick of the week. I want to remind everybody, if you miss any portion of this show, you can go to our website, guysfromqueens.com, or you can go to our streaming site, gfqlive.tv, to watch live. We're on iTunes, so please subscribe to us. It helps us out. We're on iTunes. We're on the Zoom. We're pretty much everywhere you can imagine. You can get more information at gfqnetwork.com. Sunkast has a great website. I know you want to talk about it for a second. It's called Amadeus.
Yes, AMADAIS.com. Trying to remember exactly what I posted recently. Amadeus.com. I'm going to try and go there right now because it's a very cool website where I feature a lot of YouTube artists out there, people that aren't necessarily pro. They're not people that you hear on the radio, but they're great singers nonetheless, and they have some great cover songs out there as well. I just posted a whole 10 best covers thing on Maroon 5's newest song called Payphone. Got some great covers on there if you want to check it out. That's AMADAIS.com.
Very, very cool. Amadeus. And support the show. Subscribe like I said. And we'll see you all next week on Tech News Weekly. Good night, everybody.